Today on Outside of the Box, Christine talks with Trey Roski, co-founder of BattleBots, and we get a tour of the Las Vegas facilities where the show is made.
The camaraderie of the contestants, the engineers, and the people that are building these things and coming here to have fun are just, there's nothing like it. There's no other sport in the world that, you become such good friends with people at a competition to the death. And you can really get to know these people and go out and get a beer afterwards. It's only about the robots talk.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Outside of the Box. And this is really exciting. I have Trey here from BattleBots and at the BattleBots arena, and we're going to talk today about Faceoffs. And Trey's going to take us on a little bit of a tour.
So I'm sitting here at the console where we control the lighting and audio, and then right in front of us is where the Whopper is. And so I will click my camera around and start a little tour if I could figure out how to do that. There's Nate. He's our lighting guy. Richard, our audio guy. And then, so we're sitting here in the box. That's our Platinum Lounge. You can see I think it's LA in the back still. Someday we'll get it to actually go Vegas. Someday if we ever make money at this. All right, so then Johnny was here, but he left. There's the Whopper. And why don't I sneak in the back real quick to show you the action going on there. We've got the contestants are allowed to sell their own merch. So Bunny has set up a little stand here to sell her merchandise. She has free stuff. And then she's got all her merch, which is pretty cool. This is our Platinum Lounge normally, and we're looking, because it doesn't get used very often, we're thinking about actually turning it into a little bot repair station. There's Bronco. And then we've got a beat up witch doctor on display. And this, we only allow employees back here apparently. This is one of our edit bays, which isn't quite on yet. And then this is all the camera gear and some videotapes. We're trying to digitize all the old footage that we had from 1994 and on. Fox is busy here editing something for the show today. There is the bot whisperer, Peter Abramson, sitting here.
Oh, designed it.
We're on a podcast. Here's Greg. He is editing something for the thing. And we've got the famous Aaron Catling. He's part of this entire thing for filming. Jason Pearson is there. And that's basically our little TV section. So if you notice back here, we've got all the old videotapes. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of videotapes from the old days, back in the beta days, when we would shoot stuff on a Betamax. There's Sony equipment. There is our middle giant nut. So this is actually about twice the size of the real giant nut. And we actually have an even bigger giant nut. And the whole goal of the giant nut was to turn it into like the Stanley Cup of BattleBots. So we're going to eventually engrave everybody's names onto the giant nut, just, in the teams and all their team names from the beginning of Robot Wars all the way through. That way we can put our name on it too, because we were only really competing in Robot Wars. So that's our store, front of house, where we've got a place to shoot pictures in front of. We've got Ginsu and Tombstone up here in the lobby, which is kind of cool. We've got Minotaur, and of course you all know Scorpius. And we have the cleanest bathrooms in Vegas. So we're back at the store here. This is our food, whatever, chips and stuff. And that's where people buy their tickets. This is the other side of the house. Now we actually have our brand new bar. This is a super highlight for people at Vegas because we went a year and 8 months with no alcohol. Now we've got a bar. So we're back on the side where Bunny's part is. And now let me see if I can quickly walk to the other side. So what we probably got going here, there's now Johnny's back. He is the Whopper King. And it looks like we're testing Malice, before the event, before people get here. Malice is in the box, being tested.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
So,
We're watching Balance.
Alice is doing a test.
okay, what kind of test?
I think it's
Just
like
yeah. Just make sure everything works with the test.
Over here, it's part of the BattleBots team. Kelly, everything. Kyle, who's our referee now also. So not only is he being chief safety bot, but he's now wearing the ref outfit and doing a great job. You wouldn't recognize this guy. Good old David, funny. So you're happy with the test?
yes.
Testing great. I felt it vibrate just perfectly, and it just sounds amazing, and the forks look great. We have to have a little bit more of an expensive fight because to make weight we have to use the titanium 4 bolts in the back, and they're about $35 a piece. So but it's worth it to run 2 forks against Jackpot.
Hi,
Is it
Bunny. It's
outside the box?
Christine. It's Christine.
Outside the
Oh, it's outside of the box.
outside the box. Outside.
Bunny!
One of our camera people trying to capture everything for the online stuff. More of our camera people. And then I'll take you over here. So this is our place where we fix the robots on nightly for BattleBots Destructathon. And we're working on, you see we have multiple robots. We have, I think, 8, maybe 7 to 10 of every robot. So that we have. These are, some are ready, some are not. We write down on whatever. Now here's the interesting thing. So Vic Lang years ago made the robot that was called Y2K2. And now I think we should rename it to Vic. But we've spent numerous hours on, this was our very first pay-per-view host. So this was our referee. And when you saw BattleBots for the very first time, this was our robot that did it. Vic actually competed in Robot Wars with this base. So he had pistons that would fire out, these telescopic pistons. And it was pretty amazing what it was. The animatronics, the engineering behind this robot is amazing. What he did was he spring loaded a lot of stuff. So as the arm moved, you would see fingers move. They all are servo driven and robotic, also, but they would shake and move. And so it became very lifelike. The face is made out of chainmail. And as it would talk, it actually looks similar to a real face, and it's done in such a way that it's not real mechanically overwhelming. If that makes sense. And so when like Scott LaValle did Groot for Disney, basically he put all the animatronics in the face. So he had to put servo motors and all the faces and all that stuff. This is done kind of non-mechanically, which is pretty amazing. I'll take you to my office full of boxes. This is where I sit. This is my corner, Trey's corner. I'm all the way in the corner right here by the giant evacuation smoke pipes that go all the way to the arena. We've got our great cell block battery storage. So very, very impressed with the batteries we've been using. We're debating whether to make every team use them. They don't cascade, or they haven't cascaded. I'm sure they could. Go turn around here. This is Rob's. Rob sits there and looks at me sometimes. I look at him. He's my go-to number one. We got Arthur over here working on bots. He's the Kraken King. A few others. He made the best Kraken the other day fight that we've ever had. So, and then here we've got the face-off teams. This is their corner. And basically they are going to town getting ready. They had pretty good fights yesterday. We were pretty amazed. This is outside the box lady. And she's here, and we're doing kind of a live interview.
Live. There we go.
So I guess it's edited, but you guys ready?
Lucky is ready to go.
Lucky is
Jackpot.
Lucky and Jackpot. That's going to be interesting. So last night fights were pretty amazing. Here's them all working. This is my favorite part of the whole thing. Here's David again, kind of contemplating life, making sure, he's going to get married. He said yes.
Yeah.
So he is very excited. We just found out that yesterday, day before, maybe it's yesterday. That's kind of exciting. Here's Jeff and his team going at it. They did pretty good. You know, Jeff's he's pretty much should be committed if he isn't already, but I'm not sure that, you know, appropriately. That's our little welding area, our machine shop. We got some of the ancient machines. These machines actually worked on tanks and submarines, actually. They came from Mare Island. And yeah. So that's basically the loop. How about I go over here so I give you a little good background.
So you've got one weekend of face-offs in the books. You know, obviously that'll be available at a later time for folks to be able to watch, but how did that first weekend go for you?
It went good. You know, like any first weekend or first day of anything, especially with a lot of new crew, is a lot of stress. I think going into the second weekend, we've got a lot more figured out. I don't know how many hours of footage we captured last week, but it was astronomical. You know, we were all kind of blown away for how much we captured. So we're trying to capture maybe a little bit less because we we didn't need probably don't need all of that for what we did. But it's an incredible team, great people, and obviously Aaron's here to help coach a little bit, which is really great. I mean, he's the king. You know, Aaron's kind of like a, you know, he's a showrunner, but with the showrunner is really kind of a producer, director, editor, you know, camera operator, wears many hats, and it's just like everybody here. And it's amazing how many hats everybody has to wear. There's not, when the TV show happens, people have one job, you know, and you hire gobs of people, and you know, there's somebody there just for that one job. You know, here everybody has to wear, you know, do multiple things. So not only are they, you know, being cameramen, but they're sweeping the floor. They're, you know, they're just, it's on and on and on. And everybody just doesn't have a problem with it. They're all being really, really amazing group of people, great team all the way around. So
Yeah,
we now just need to get sponsors. We can get some sponsors. That would be the highlight for us, because I think it's going to go gangbusters. The quantity of footage I was talking about, but the quality is unbelievable, and the fights have just been great. So I'm really, really excited about what we're doing here.
Yeah, for sure. What's interesting is because it sounds like maybe in some ways having this kind of different format is possibly more chaotic than like everything that you have to go through to pull off a normal like season TV production. But I'm sure in some ways it makes it easier, you know, having, you know, the teams that you have there, and you have like those teams that you're working with that set weekend, and then kind of move on to the next. I mean, has it been kind of like that feeling for you where aspects of it are easier, but there's other aspects that aren't?
It's a lot more intimate, you know, when you have, you know, 80 teams here and, you know, 2,000 people, you know, from the teams, and it's really hard to kind of to communicate with any one of them, you know, to really get a good talk, you know, or things. It's kind of nice being able to actually, and now COVID's over and everything else, that we can actually get together and talk and learn and get to know each other again in some cases, and learn about each other and others, which is really neat. The camaraderie of the contestants, the engineers, and the people that are building these things and coming here to have fun are just, you know, there's nothing like it. There's no other sport in the world that, you know, you become such good friends with people, you know, in a competition to the death, you know, and you can really get to know these people and go out and get a beer afterwards. It's only about the robots talking, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, how has the fan response been as far as you've seen so far? Because I mean, I know that there was like right before face-offs were announced, there was a bunch of stuff that was going on, and people were feeling like, you know, oh no, we're not sure what's going on with BattleBots. And I think like a lot of people have like, this has been a really hopeful thing, you know, to see face-offs happening and see the teams that people know and love. And I think everybody's really excited about it.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you a little bit about that. You know, I was a little nervous to start with. So we, you know, we wanted to evolve the show. We were planning on doing the evolution or changing the show in November, when we went into our normal, what I would call normal break for F1. the forced break that we're not really happy about again, but we're, good, good Vegas people and are going to play the game that we're asked to play and try to be good people. Anyway, there was a few reasons for it, and one of the main for the break, the pre-break or break before the break, because it happened very quickly. And at the time, I didn't really want to talk about it, but now that I know it's okay, I'm figuring, I can tell people a little bit. So at the bottom of the battle box, there are bolts and nuts that level the floor. And basically they were failing and nobody noticed it. And because nobody's down there. And so we didn't really notice it, but these bolts that level the box needs to be put together perfectly flat. Otherwise, if you have a gap at the bottom, by the time you get to the top of the roof, the gap is much bigger. So you need to make sure that there's no gap at the bottom. So when you get to the roof, it all bolts together and everything works, correctly. I thought there might be a safety issue that, we might be getting into because of these bolts being broken. The box is, was made to be, not to go through as many fights as it's gone through. I think it's close to 3,000 fights that we're here. I mean, we're doing, five fights a night, for whatever 300 shows or something now. It's a lot of fights anyway, plus all the ancillary fights and the testing and everything else. I mean, this box is taking a major beating. They're holding up great, but these bolts I wanted to make sure weren't an issue, and so I figured let's close it up. Let's figure out. Let's take advantage. We're not going to be able to fix this in a day. Not sure how long it's going to take us. Not sure if it's a safety issue. I found out much later it's not a safety issue. It wouldn't have mattered. It's not something the box isn't going to fail. Anything like that. The welds and the bolts and everything else are actually holding it together just fine. But, I wanted some time. We got to, get it fixed and all that kind of stuff and make sure it wasn't an issue. So we took a little bit of a break. Obviously, we can't, afford to pay people while we're not hiring them or not using them or not making money off them. So for them to be able to get unemployment and whatever else, we had to lay everybody off for that period of time. And we let most everyone know that we were going to, come back and all that. The letter that I sent out, which, was kind of angry, was an internal memo that somebody in our group decided that, somebody, the press bought it or paid them money probably or something. And they posted it and then wrote an article that was completely wrong. But who cares? So it's over and done with. We came back 3 weeks later. Everything's great. We got a new show. The Destructathon show is so much better. I mean, the previous show was good. It was great. This is so much better. There's not one complaint. The other show had a few complaints because it had some holes in it. This one is much more cost effective. It's much more real. The actors / contestants / drivers are real and they get to be themselves, not who we try to put them into. So we were trying to put them into characters. Last time we'd have a guy dress up as a pirate and come out with Kraken, and it was kind of a little cheesy. I mean, the Kraken guys come out and dress as pirates, but that's them, that's what they want to do. Us dressing them up or playing that didn't come off as real as it is. So now our people who are driving the robots are, and our engineers are in the show too, which is much better. So before we really didn't have the engineers in the show. So the engineers are part of the show. They're being interviewed too. They're talking about the robots, what happened, what's happening before, the powers, and they know the right answers. And they're doing it correctly instead of some actor trying to dress it up. So our actors, drivers are driving the robots and it makes it much more real. It's much more fun. Most of them are really catching on. They get to be themselves. They get to pull in their own characters, whatever that might be, and come up with their own names. And, it's much more fun. It's a really good show and a wee bit cheaper because there's less of them. There's putting our real people in there, which is really cool. So.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I mean, one of the things that I really love about BattleBots in general is because there's some overlap with like the idea of what they do in professional wrestling and having characters and coming out and having these battles. But I think the thing for me always has been that BattleBots is so authentic. All of these people that have the teams and the bots, like there's just such an authenticity to it. So I think that's really exciting to hear that that's kind of how the show is evolving. Now you have a lot more weeks of face-offs to go. How have the teams been feeling like as they've been coming in to be part of this? Because I think, you know, they have to really be excited to be there to like come out for it and stuff.
I've heard nothing but rave. You know, everybody's been very, very happy. You know, obviously we just finished the first day of our second show or second, face off. And everybody, the first one is ecstatic. We'll see how it goes by the end of this one. You know, kind of depends a little bit, but everybody's having a great time. You know, the best part about this is they're getting drive time in the box in front of an audience. Driving is such the secret that, you know, you can't get anywhere else in a real world scenario. Even if you go in your backyard, even if you built it in your own battle box, without that audience there and the energy of that audience there and everything that goes with that and the timing that goes with that, you don't get that. And they're really dialing in their robots. They're really perfecting things. So what the guys learned last weekend in their failures and their successes, they will bring back to the TV show. And it's going to make that show or these shows so much better. I mean, in the past, the first two fights, almost every team sucked, you know, because they forgot to hook up a wire. They forgot to do this. I mean, I'd always look at them and say, you know, my opening speech, say, hey, make a checklist, you know, make that checklist. So you remember to get that wire plugged in or tape up that connector or, you know, whatever. Here, they're learning all that and they're dialing it in. So when they get to the TV rounds where it's a one-shot deal then. This is the ultimate practice and gives them the ultimate time to really give them that opportunity to become number one in the TV show, which I'm so excited about.
Yeah, for sure. Now I know that there's obviously some details about like when face-offs are going to be posted on YouTube and things like that there really hasn't been a lot about. For people that are asking, you know, number one, about when can they see these face-offs, battles, is there any more concrete idea of when that might be, or is it just kind of like a late 2024, early 2025 type of situation still?
You know, there's some things that will prelude to what it ends up being. My guess is yes, late 24, early 25. You know, there's we're not going to release anything until it's BattleBots quality. You know, if you saw our show last season, which I know you did, it was amazing. You know, the amount of the level we take in perfecting this and making it beautiful and making it right. You know, I don't want to, just because it's the internet, I don't want to cheese it down. I don't want to make it something that, you know, is like other people might think. I want to make it as best I can. That being said, what most of the expense of anything like this is in post. You know, that's where the real cost is. Even shooting the television show, you can get the best cameras and the best lenses and capture anything, but unless you clean it all up in post, it doesn't, you know, it's not going to look like you saw our television show look like. So I post is where the costs are. I'm hoping we can find some sponsors for it. We've never really found sponsors, and networks always did that. BattleBots has always let the contestants kind of deal with their own sponsors, and we don't know this world. That this was a network world. That so we're trying to figure that out. So if you know of anyone interested in getting behind this, you know, I know our viewership and our online viewership is pretty staggering. I think we put a few videos up and they get millions of views, you know, in some days, you know, in days, if not, you know, shorter. So we've got a good following on all these, where Greg's got all kinds of plans that he wants to do stuff on the, you know, the supporters groups and the Facebook, you know, things and the Instagram things and the, you know, YouTube is where all these will end up, and they'll be unlocked because a lot of our footage, you know, is locked in because of Discovery. So this will allow us to unlock a lot of that footage, which will be kind of fun and cool. And we'll be putting snippets and all kinds of stuff that you haven't seen from the past. And like I said, we're digitizing all the really old stuff, which is what we're finding is just bringing back memories like you wouldn't believe. I mean, we got all kinds of stuff with Adam Carolla and Adam Savage and Jamie Heineman and stuff back, you know, and Grant and Mahara, all them before they were famous television people. And some of the stuff will just make you crack up. I mean, it's so funny and how clever some of these people are. And beginning footage of Mark Satrakian and the snake being built and the master and, you know, even Peter Abramson way back when, you know, all these guys, Donald Hudson, the Wyachis. I was on the phone couple days ago with Terry Ewert, the Watchy team, and they spent 2.5 hours on the phone with him about all kinds of stuff in the walking weight class that we're opening up. We've got 4, possibly 5 walkers, maybe even 6 right now, all being made, which is pretty cool for the 250-pound walking weight class, which is the one Mark kind of introduced last season, which is exciting. So there might be a night face-off when we get the walkers to come in and play. So that might, the face-offs, we got 8 under our belt or 8 in the works. We'll just keep adding on to them. So it might be really cool. The goal is to have a big, giant conglomeration of content, and make it available. So we do have a network offer that's not enough, but it's amazing that we have it. We just need to figure out a way to make it work. They just want to play the championship. They want to put on the Stanley Cup of the box. So they want to put on the last 8, 10, something like that episodes. But we want to give more people, if not everyone, a chance, which allows this face-off to happen. Say everyone a chance to come and try to get into that, and then create some sort of online show. We did 54 hours last year with Discovery Channel, or last season, a couple years ago now with Discovery Channel. So we would like to do something like that again. So if you took the entire thing of our YouTube section, our online section, hopefully with like an Amazon, or something like that, or maybe even Apple TV or somebody, and then a network for the championship, and then we put it all back on Amazon or whatever, and then maybe even YouTube after that. So the world's changing in the television world. I don't know if you've followed what's happening with Discovery, but they're not a happy company. So I think I heard they wrote off $9 billion. I'm not sure how you do that. How do you write off $9 billion? They just say, sorry, we can't afford $9 billion. We'll just erase that from our, we don't know that anymore. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but I'm sure a lot of people wish they could do that.
Yeah, I would say so. And it's pretty interesting, how you talk about like potentially what that could look like. And I do agree. Like, I think it's important to see all of those qualifying matches, traditionally, as BattleBots has shown, to kind of tell the story and the journey. The championships, obviously, I think that's everybody wants to see that. But I know, speaking for myself, as somebody who the last time filming happened, and I didn't get there basically until the tournament was starting. And I felt like I had missed so much, talking to builders and things like that, and being like, oh my gosh, this happened, and being so surprised. And I think it's really cool to see how people got there and not just see like how it plays out in the end. So I do agree, like, however that can happen, I think that's really important for fans.
Yeah, me too. I think of the more content, especially with the online opportunities, and the more that people really want to see the fights, but they also want to know how people got there. So, and we're going to try to tell them stories that they've never seen before, never heard of before. Our capturing team under Aaron and Fox are being told, a different way of shooting, a different way of capturing, a different way of storytelling that I don't think we've seen before, and we'll see how it works.
Yeah, that's very exciting. And also something I wanted to ask about, because like you mentioned the mechs, and I know at least one person, possibly a couple of people that have been trying to get into that at the lower weight classes, because obviously like building these BattleBots, it can be a lot for anybody to like set out to say, okay, we're going to build this giant machine and pour thousands of dollars into it. But, what do you say as somebody who's been in this for such a long time to encourage folks who are trying to do this maybe on a smaller scale, that like, get out there and try doing it in BattleBots and bringing something new and innovative to the table?
So I heard part of that. I think it was cut off a little bit, but I think I got the gist. There is some, we're looking at possibly 30 and 60-pound weight class to come into the box and actually compete here live at the Structathon during or within the show itself. We actually had Travis T next weekend was supposed to be here for the face-offs, and they blew up apparently today. Travis T's blown up a lot when they were here, so it's amazing to me that they're pretty good at burning themselves up, not even in the arena. But they apparently blew up. They're saying they're not sure they can get it together for next week, and we're trying to figure out either a substitute or something like that. And I was thinking, maybe we open this up to 4 of our 60-pound robots that come on as a team and compete against, and get in the round robin of the tournament or something. It's a really late notice, so I don't know, if that'll work. But we are hoping to do some 30-pound, 60-pound, because that is a question I get asked a lot. How do we get into this? How do we do it? And I always tell everyone, start small, ant weights even, and smaller beetle weights and whatever, start really small. I mean, those are harder in some cases to make than a 30-pound or a 60-pound, to be honest with you. But 30 pounds is something you can probably get in your luggage and get on an airplane pretty easily and bring spare parts, especially if you travel Southwest, because, you can get 2 bags free. Maybe they should be our sponsor.
They should be your sponsor. I agree.
If you know anyone over there.
I'm a frequent flyer of Southwest, so I don't know. Maybe that's enough. But yeah, I mean, like you make a point, and that's why a lot of people do that. And it's hard to think about doing a 250-pound robot, but I think when you have the community that combat robotics is, and you have so many people who can help and be in your corner and potentially form a team, I think that that's something that's really exciting to think about. But especially if the possibility of doing 30s and 60s, I think you might see a lot more people who would say, hey, I'm game, and be ready to go out for it.
Yeah, I agree. And it's definitely something we're looking at. We got the box here. We might as well, So that is our plan.
Well, that's really exciting. I mean, I think that fans are going to be interested to hear about all of this. I think the last thing that I want to ask about is just, I mean, you've answered a lot of that already, but for fans that haven't been out to the new BattleBots arena and maybe haven't seen it in a while, what would you say is your pitch to be now is the time to come out, now is the time to see it? I mean, you don't have to convince me, but maybe there's some people that need convincing.
The crowd has been, especially with the revamped Destructathon, the crowd has been full of energy. They haven't sat down. They're clapping beyond what we can imagine. The Faceoffs really changed the entire experience, because those are real robots competing, and we're filming everything always, so anything, if there's a great crowd reaction, that crowd reaction could get into the TV show. The Face-Offs, there's definitely be part of these Face-Offs, and the Proving Grounds for that matter, that are going to make it into the TV show. So all of these things will have the opportunity to be there, and it's definitely going to help us tell the story when we get into the TV rounds. So I suggest coming out. We have tickets now available for $45, so it's totally reasonable to come out. I think we're probably one of the cheapest shows in Vegas, if not the cheapest. But unless you're going to some comedy show or something that costs you $20, and we have a bar, which we just got, so that helps. That'll helps make the fights a little bit better, at least for some of the crowd. So there's always one drunken audience member that just makes me giggle because they're having the greatest time of their life, and they're letting the rest of the audience know, and everybody else is giggling behind them, which I think is really fun and cute. So
yeah, for sure. I think now's a great time to go out. I'm kind of jealous. I wish that I could be there. I think that it seems like it's going to be a lot of fun with all of these face-offs. So for fans that are watching this, please consider a trip, because I think that it's going to be a lot of fun. And like Trey said, it may end up in the TV show whenever that comes out. So check it out. Go out to Vegas, see what's going on there. And obviously, for this show, make sure that you subscribe, especially with lots more BattleBots content coming. There's going to be a lot more of that on this show. So if you want to see it, make sure that you subscribe so that you can get notified when that comes out. I thank you so much, Trey, and thank you to everyone who's watching, and we'll see everybody next time on Outside of the Box.
It's nothing like seeing it live here at the BattleBots. The robots will blow you away, guaranteed.
Absolutely. Go check it out.
Thank you.